being part of the national defense is greater than just putting the uniform on. Is our teachers are just as important as our drill instructors as far as building up young people that are good at math and are well-read and have a larger view of the world, that are going to bring this skill set to grow our economy. With a growing economy, it becomes a larger GDP that we could tap for a stronger national defense.
He's a major in the U.S. Army Reserve as a military intelligence officer, the CFO of Stonehouse Water Technologies, a politician. He's currently a member of the Wisconsin State Assembly and running for the Wisconsin State Senate, and he's also a father of 4. Sitting here with Dale Kooyenga. And Dale, how do you do it all?
Well, there's synergies, because I'll just give you some quick examples, is that you go into your Army unit, you find out that someone's wife can't get a cosmetology license, they just moved here on active duty orders from Arizona or whatever it is, and you go to Mass and say, okay, reciprocity for all military member spouses, right? And a lot of it just comes down to networking. So, I believe in citizen legislators where you're not a full-time politician, so the business and military angle gives me that and allows me to go to Madison and apply not only what I've heard, but what I've seen as a CPA and also as a veteran and a father. On the military side, I'm a huge fan of a readiness force, and so I train. But if you don't need me, don't call me to sit around in garrison. And so I love being part of the force if they need me, and when they call, and they do call. And I think I got a great wife who is very supportive, and other family members and friends, and so it all kind of comes together and works. And what they say, if you want something done, ask someone who's busy, and I guess I'm the busy guy.
You can say that again. Everything that you've done up until this point in your life is pretty amazing. What would you say to somebody? The phrase that I always hate when I sit down with somebody is, "Oh, I don't have time to do that." I mean, how do you talk to somebody like that says they don't have time?
Yeah, I hear that all the time. I mean, I don't have time to read, or I don't have time to. And it's amazing how much you get done if you're just efficient. So I'd say the big thing that people spend a lot of time on is television. I think most people would admit there's nothing on television anyways. So we don't have a lot of television on our house. And then just building teams in every aspect of my life that are able to take care of the day-to-day. So campaign team, they're able to execute, get done with very little guidance. What you need to do in your life across the things you're responsible for, whether it be your home life or, in my case, military life, or there's the state assembly policy side, which is the government team. There's the campaign side, which is separate. In all those areas, what keeps it going is having a solid team, and then creating processes by which that team can execute and get things done. And then you create some guidance that, okay, if this happens, then we raise it this level and we talk about it. But really having good people on your teams and then empowering them to make decisions.
Sure. So who was Dale growing up?
Who's Dale growing up? So I grew up in a very blue-collar neighborhood. My dad was a garbage man. He just retired after 40 years on the truck.
Wow.
3-4 weeks ago. My mom was a pediatric oncology nurse, retired after a similar amount of service in that profession in 2017. And so I grew up in a very blue-collar home, oldest of 4. All 3 of us boys joined the military together, spurred on by 9/11 and promises when we were little boys. I don't know if it was Saving Private Ryan or Legends of the Fall, but we all made a promise we'd join if there was ever war. And I went to high school. I was a very, very mediocre, at best, basketball player, but got really motivated to work at that harder when I graduated, and was able to walk on the community college basketball team in Southside Chicago, or suburb of Southside Chicago. And that really fired me up. I became a much better student than I was in high school because I gave a lot of thought to what I wanted to do, and was really motivated since I was paying for my school. And then got recruited to Lakeland College at the time, now Lakeland University, and played basketball there for a year as well. And then they changed the rules for the accounting to become a CPA. They made it a 5-year program, not a 4-year program by law. And so I graduated early right away, so I didn't have to go to school for a whole another year and a half. So I graduated December 2000, hours before they had a new rule that says you need to go to school for 5 years. And then I started working at KPMG, a large accounting firm. And while I was there, I did my master's at Marquette. So now I am at 150. I didn't need it back then to start work and sit for the CPA exam.
Sure.
So.
So your brothers, are they still in as well?
Yeah, so the first one to join was Dan. Dan was enlisted, and Dan was an operating engineer. He had 2 tours to Iraq, and he got out, I think, 3 or 4 years ago. And he was, I'll never forget, because back then it was very sporadic phone calls to Iraq. This was back in 2004. He's like, "Don't do it! Don't do it! You don't!" And he was just in that moment of his military career where it's just, he had a poor leader, I think. You'd have to talk to him what was all going on, but he was like, "Don't do it. You have a good career. Like, I'm telling you." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm signed up, man. I'm going. And my other brother was in college. He said, "Hey, when I graduate, I'm signing up." And so, so he was enlisted, got out. My other brother's like G.I. Joe, the real deal. He's also 6'7". He played college football. He's went enlisted in special forces. He's airborne. They taught him Arabic. He's right now became an officer.
Oh.
And so now he's a captain. Redoing the special forces school. He's got to redo it as an officer. He's got 4 kids, but he's the G.I. Joe of the family. And that's kind of cool to, whenever I think like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, and realize I don't have time for it. I just live vicariously through his cool HUA stuff, and I'll be the more military intelligence reserve officer. So
interesting.
I'm very proud of both those guys.
That's
very
awesome.
Proud of both of them. And my sister's a nurse practitioner. She didn't join the military, but proud of all my siblings.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like you guys are very close, and
we're very close. Yeah.
That's a great thing to see.
It's awesome. Yeah.
How do you define success?
That really, I really think about that a lot, because when I was in college, I saw this house on Lake Michigan, and this house had a 3-car boat garage, and the front of the house had a 5-car garage, and it was like the just beautiful home. And I had on my desk a picture of that residence, being like, if you hit it right, if you work hard, like, that's success. And man, has life changed. My success is really just kind of gauged on my Christianity. My success is just having a healthy marriage and having healthy relations with my kids. I recognize that success politically and success in other realms also sometimes opens you up to more criticism, which then you don't feel successful, but it's that irony. And I just kind of take more and more every day that my success isn't measured by a house that used to be on my desk, or the type of car I drive, or Arthur Brooks has this great book called The Conservative Heart, and there's actually a study that says people are most happy with meaningful relationships and meaningful work. And my success is, as those meaningful relationships become more meaningful and I'm able to have more of them. I got a friend who I've been mentoring the Milwaukee Rescue Mission, which is a place for homeless people, and we've had a relationship for 6 months now, mentoring, and he's leaving for basic training.
Wow.
Next week. That's success. That's success, and it's not out there in the public. It's not a big deal. It's a big idea, but to me, that's the meaningful relationship. And the other second part of that is meaningful work. He's going to have meaningful work, and that's really my success. I mean, it's really changed over the years. That's why I really get a kick out of. So,
what do you want to be remembered as? When it's your time to leave this earth, what do you want your footprint to be?
Yeah, I had a friend that passed away a couple of years ago now. His name is Joe Medina. He was many things, a Marine veteran, awesome family guy, and he just had Latinos for Republicans. He wore a lot of different hats. And he was in a position where he passed away at an early age, where he was able to actually do his own benediction at his own funeral. And he had one of his best friends with a pastor, and he's on his deathbed, and pulls the pastor and he's like, "I want you to do something for me. I want you to do something for me." And he pulls him in and he says, "I want you to preach the gospel at my funeral. Not the gospel at my funeral. I want you to preach the good news there." And that's exactly what his friend did. And essentially, the funeral wasn't about Joe then. It was about Joe saying, take this pinnacle of my life, this moment where it's supposed to be about me, and don't make it about me. Make it about the gospel message. Make it about what I live for that was bigger than me, whether it be the Marine Corps or his relationship with Jesus Christ. And that, I guess, I want my legacy to be. I want my legacy to be forfeiting the greatness of what most people want to do with their name and those aspects of it. I just really want to fight for what I believe in as it relates to being someone myself who has received tons of grace and reciprocate that, and just that's what I want to be known for. It's just someone who said, yep, he did what he believed, and he believes that he's standing in front at the end of the day, like, job well done, good and faithful servant. And that to me is really what motivates me as far as like what success is and where I want to be remembered for someday.
That's amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Did you ever once in your life envision yourself being in politics?
No, not much. I mean, it's not something my wife, right now what we're doing is we're just knocking on doors. It's part of the process. And not that I'm shocked by this or nothing like that, but it's amazing how many doors you knock on and people are like, okay, what's going on? Who are you? What is the state senate? What's the state assembly? How does this work? And so it's, and I think I had a certain degree of humility before this, but like it's humbling still to like be like, not many people know who their state reps are. Do you know who your state rep is?
No.
See? I'm saying, you're like an educated guy who's like in it. Not many people know who the state reps is or state senator. So just going door to door, and that's the process of getting people to know you and then giving their support to run for office. So yeah. I don't think I answered your question. What was your question on that one?
Did you ever envision yourself getting in politics?
No, so I didn't even know. My wife reminds me how I didn't even know my state rep was or state senator. I just was spurred by continued service. And also, coming off a combat tour, you kind of become a little bit of an adrenaline junkie. And the idea of like accounting firm for the rest of my life, which was cool, great people, great work. I just got that heart for service, and also the adrenaline rush of the college basketball, the combat experience, the high stakes of like, let's do this, let's go.
Sure.
And politics definitely offers that, wins and losses, and let's go, and high drama, and for better or for worse. And I could do with less drama, but yeah.
It's part of the animal, right?
It's part of the animal.
Yep.
Yeah.
So as a veteran, you probably see a lot of newbies coming in, you see guys getting out. What sort of advice would you have for a veteran who's either leaving the military or who's been out for a while and they just can't find traction that they're looking for?
Yeah, well, I would be really hesitant for the guys. If you've done your 20 years, it's different. And that math is changing as things change. But I'd say if you haven't done that career active duty, I would really recommend the Guard or Reserves, because I think a lot of guys really, really miss it. I ask them all the time, do you miss it? And the answer is yes. Try for a couple of years Guard or Reserve, because I think you'll find a way where you could still be in the fight. You could still be in a position, like if they need me, they'll call me, right? Mm-hmm. And you're forced to stay in shape, you're forced to keep your reading, right? Like stay up to date. It's still a sacrifice. I mean, you're going to miss birthdays, you're going to still miss, you could be called up and miss a whole year. But I think that keeps you in the game. I think it's good for your psychology. It's a good transition. If it doesn't work out for you, you can always transition out. But then also, what we talked about earlier was that being part of the national defense is greater than just putting the uniform on. Our teachers are just as important as our drill instructors as far as building up young people that are good at math and are well-read and have a larger view of the world, that are going to bring this skill set to grow our economy. With a growing economy, it becomes a larger GDP that we could tap for a stronger national defense. Having stable home fronts and promoting just what parents do makes our soldier more solid across the world when they know that at the home front we have strong family structures and strong institutions like our churches and our businesses that support our veterans. So those are what I'd recommend for those guys, is to see, okay, can I join the reserves or guards? If I can't do that, take pride in knowing that you're not losing the meaning of your work, that like when you grow your business or like you're teaching in the classroom or like whatever service you're doing, do it with pride, do it with the same determination and discipline you've done in the military, because collectively that job exists because it has value, right? Someone's placing a value on that work is why that job exists, which means it has value to our economy. So do it with pride, execute, get it done, and like don't be that guy who's like, well, back in the day. Like, no, back in the day is now. Like, now's the time. Like, don't look at back as like that was hard to top. Like, we can't do better than that. You got to make it a continuing expedition. One of my favorite books is Undaunted Courage by Stephen Ambrose, same author that wrote Band of Brothers. And he writes about, that book's about the Lewis and Clark expedition out west. What most people don't realize is that that was a military expedition. It was Clark and Lewis were the leaders, and that was a military expedition. And so many times on that expedition, they were like, this is so hard. I just want to I'm so sick of eating salmon. You know, I'm so sick. I just want to get back and get to the McDonald's back in Tennessee. Point is that they were on that journey, and what seemed like a lot of sacrifice and tough times is they came back, and all of them realized that those were probably the best days of their life. And then they had depression issues. They really struggled with that huge moment of their life was the pinnacle of their life, and they just couldn't get past that, to the point where there's also mental illness, but Meriwether Lewis actually committed suicide shortly after that expedition. And I think that the lessons that veterans need to take from stories like that is that, like, you cannot let that pinnacle of adrenaline and camaraderie define your life forever. You need to go on and know that there's just as much glory personally in like having a family that stays together, in helping out your neighbor, in hiring people. Like, all that is just as important, and it may not be as glorified. There's probably not ribbons you put on. There's probably not like everyone standing up attention and pin something on. But at the end of the day, like, it's just as meaningful, it's just as important. I think there's a danger in life of thinking of like, did there, done that, and now it's time for the 30 pack and the cigarette and the war stories. That's cool. That's like part of the experience. We've earned that, right?
Yep.
But like, don't keep reliving the past. Like, make it build upon of, now that you've had that, you could be a better father. You could be better, and that's what I recommend.
That's a very great advice. One of the things, and you touched on it there, reading books. You know, the importance of it. I mean, there's a lot of people out there in the world today that don't pick up a book after high school.
Right.
And the power of education is very, very important as we go on. Probably more important as we go on than it was when we were in school. What are your top 3 books and that you would recommend a business owner or somebody who's looking to get to that next level in their career?
Shoe Dog. This is like probably not top 3, but it's the first 3 that come to mind right now, and it's probably because of the proximity of reading them. But Shoe Dog, which is Phil Knight's biography. You
Nike,
assume
right?
A guy like that, yeah, Nike. You just assume like, oh yeah, he started a shoe company, and it was like, then he went off. And it was like, no, it's never that easy. It had ups and downs and ethical questions and like all sorts of. I mean, it's just simply ups and downs, and it's a great story. I mean, also if you're a sports fan, it's just kind of cool because Nike's story kind of weaves with the story of American sports since the 1960s, which is fun to watch. The book on extreme ownership, that's by a former Navy SEAL. That's a good business book as far as taking the lessons of a military leader and then applying that. The book kind of takes...
Is that Jocko?
Yes.
Yep.
So that's a good book. I don't do tons of like businesses, self-development books. I do a lot of like more historical nonfiction. But the other one is my friend's book, Networking is a Contact Sport by Joe Sweeney. He actually does a lot of consulting now with the Navy SEALs. And the key from that book is we hear networking, especially with business people, like, oh, networking, I gotta go like do it like awkwardly, like here's my call, you know, like that guy. And he turns networking on flips it around and says networking isn't about you selling what you do to someone else. It's about you helping out someone else, right? And that will come back eventually. And if it doesn't, it's fine. It doesn't. And then it's fun. Then it's fun to walk in a room and be like, what can I do for all these folks? And he does that, you know? And so I really enjoy that aspect now in networking, is meeting someone and quickly being like, what can I do for them? And so I have soldiers that I got jobs for, and I got it's just all sorts of stuff. And it means even like maybe calling like a Democrat, like, I have a great intern for you. It's like, are you like giving me good interns? And I'm like, yeah, but to me, I want to see this person succeed. I'm not gonna. They wanted to be in politics, and they're left to center, so like here they are. So those are the 3 books. Yeah, I'd say Joe Sweeney's Networking Context Sport, there's the Extreme Ownership book, which you mentioned the author, and Shoe Dog by Phil Knight.
Great recommendations, all 3.
Have you read them?
Yeah, I've read Shoe Dog and Extreme Ownership.
Would you agree? Are they in the top 10?
Yeah, I'm actually reading another one right now called The Way of the Seal. What's his name? Another Navy SEAL, but amazing book. He's got a lot of great principles in there.
Yeah.
And finding out your purpose and your why, and why it is that you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
So, thank you for those. So what's one thing that you'd like our viewers to know about Dale that they might not already know?
Well, the thing about politics is it's a pretty open book. So, one thing nothing in particular. I mean, it's Milwaukee's a great city. We're only about 1 million people, 600,000 in the city, and so very accessible, and really enjoy the relationships. And in my state office, I've never ever, or in any office, I've never ever denied a meeting. Every single person that's ever wanted to meet with me never have said no, and so I enjoy that. And so there's the maybe fun fact is I've never ever refused a meeting in my life.
Well, thank you for taking this one.
Well, my pleasure, yeah. Well, this is an easy one.
Right. Well, what's next for Dale? I know you have your election coming up here. You're running for state senate. Poll day is November 6th,
yes,
if I remember right. Besides that, what's next for you and the next step in your life?
Yeah, I mean, the plan is to get to the state senate. They'll all be able to have more leverage to do more good policies. I mean, if you look at Wisconsin, we're in better shape by nearly every single metric. So I want to keep the policies that keep moving us forward. Business-wise, we'll hope we, get the sales up there, and the balance between funding those sales and trying to make that happen. So that'll be fun. And then military-wise, it's just kind of steady Freddy, like just be available and be ready to go. And I'm trying not to go too crazy right now too. I mean, I gave a lot of thought to running for higher office than state senate, and ultimately what I came back to was 4 kids at home. And I don't say this out of a sense of duty. There is a sense of duty there. I say it out of a sense of enjoyment. Is my kids are at such a fun age right now, 10, 8, 6, and 4, and we have a blast. I mean, my ice cream budget is totally back in water this summer. So I'm like, let's go for it, So that's really, really what I'm enjoying right now. And once again, it's not out of a sense of duty, like I got to do my duty as a father. It's just kind of like I enjoy it.
Sure.
So I just want to enjoy these days because it's just happening so fast. I know it's a cliche, but I have one son. He's 4 years away from high school, and then I don't know what it's like in high school. Like they're doing their thing,
Yep.
And the girls aren't too far behind them. So that's the plan: is maximize time with them, and try to keep everything else going in the right direction on the other fronts.
Excellent.
Yeah.
If you get voted in, what's the first thing that you're going to do? The biggest thing that you're going to focus on?
Yeah, I've been an advocate for tax reform for a long time, and we've made some incremental progress on the income taxes. The governor's been very focused on property taxes, and there's not one better than the other. And I think we've got to keep the pressure on keeping the property taxes flat or decreasing. In the very, very, very worst case scenario, they should not go up higher than inflation. But income taxes we haven't done as much on, and
Sure.
so I would like to see significant simplicity, more simplification in our tax code, lower income tax rates, because we still have high income tax rates. So that's a big priority. Also education. I don't think we're ever done on education, just making it better, empowering good school districts, good schools to do more. And our graduation rate in Wisconsin is significantly up. What I like a lot is that the minority graduation rate versus the white graduation has always been an embarrassment for Wisconsin, a huge gap there. And we've seen tremendous progress on closing that gap over the last 7, 8 years. I want to continue to enact policies that empower those parents, empower those schools to continue that trajectory. So, yeah, I'll leave it at that. It's taxes and education right now. All those a laundry list of other things that we're working on as well.
Well, I appreciate your time, Dale. How can our viewers connect with you on? You have a
Well,
website,
like
social
LinkedIn,
media?
right? There's like the
Yeah.
LinkedIn is easy. There's a campaign website. If it's business related, do LinkedIn. If it's campaign related, there's a website. But yeah, just look me up. I'm not too hard to find. If it's state related, use the state site. There's like these different styles you used to contact us, but usually LinkedIn is safe for any of those fronts. So yeah,
Perfect.
We're happy to talk to people out there.
Well, thanks, Dale. I appreciate your time again.
Thank you.
And make sure you get out there and vote November 6th. This episode of VetBiz TV is brought to you by the Star Group, Insurance and Risk Solutions, serving and protecting veteran-owned businesses. The Wisconsin Veterans Chamber of Commerce. Our mission is your success. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of VetBiz TV. We really do appreciate you watching. If you have any questions or comments, please put them below. We'd love to hear your feedback. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel at www.vetbiz.tv. Just hit the subscribe button. You'll be informed of all of our newest episodes and content coming out. Again, I want to thank you again for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.